Hello and welcome to Lorehammer. We got an exciting episode of filthy fucking minor Xenos ahead of us. I'm your host, Mark. I got an echo.
You muted. Yep, you're muted, Mark.
I keep echoing like huge since we hit recorded. We might have to end this and start again.
Take
Test,
two.
test, hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
Don't worry about it.
Shenanigans.
Hello, test, test, test.
You sound good on my end.
Yeah. Do we sound good on your end, or?
Everyone has like a 5-second lag, so maybe one more second here.
All right. Come on, it's a great show. See you guys Friday.
The Zeech shenanigans.
Zinch wills it. Oh no, we lost him again. Well. Do do. So which listeners don't know is this is actually a secret Jax Legion sabotage as the Lorehammer heresy continues.
Oh yeah. All part of our master plan.
Exactly. So what side are you taking today, Jax? Are you loyal or are you traitor?
We'll see as the episode goes.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that.
Okay.
The editors will cut that out. I had in the Discord, it was playing the show. So I had myself going on a huge leg, but we're back. We got it all sorted out.
All right.
Quick housekeeping besides that stuff. Tell us about the Patreon. So
come join the Imperial Tithe, as I was making the Aquila, and I thought that's what was confusing Mark for a second. So $2.50 per month. You know what it is. Ad-free versions on Spotify. Everyone hates ads. We all know that. $5 a month gets you access to the live stream, so you can see our lovely faces, and you can make the sign of the Aquila with me, because we are learning about foul, filthy Xenos, as I am partaking in my new position as the temporary Ordo Xenos representative.
So. This does keep you safe. The Aquila does keep you safe from the Xenos.
Yep.
So practice.
It's actually in canon it works. So, but yeah, speaking of the live stream, join the Patreon to see all of our lovely faces, except mine because I'm not very lovely. There's a live chat room during the show that usually pops up with all of us, and even there's a call-in guest at the end of the episode, so that may be you.
It could be you.
It could be you, Grim.
Cool. The other quick little housekeeping thing is the Liber Malleus. We're working through that project. I have found a 3D printer guy who is designing the Liber Malleus shoulder pads. He's taken the symbol of the Lorehammer logo and putting it on shoulder pads and Terminator pads and doors and all that kind of stuff. But he has an Etsy studio called Voidborn Studios. And if you want to work with him, he'll design stuff for you. He'll print it off too. He's going to print it and ship it down to me. So you can go check out Voidborn Studios. And he's been very easy to work for. Or work with, I mean. Like, he's just pumping out a bunch of shoulder pads. He's like, hey, what's the deadline for this? I'm like, a couple months. Like, I'm not really in a rush. He's like, I'll have it next week, buddy. I got you. So cool. Very cool guy. So yeah, go check out what he has to offer. Go chat with him. Like, I know everyone's always doing a custom, chapter. So if you can get that random design going, reach out to him. Voidborn Studios on Etsy.
I wonder if I can just pay him for an STL.
Yeah, he probably would do that. He's printing it for me because I don't have a printer, but he'll do whatever you need, man.
I finally got an extension cord so I can actually plug in my 3D printer, and I finally have my garage cleaned up so I know it'll work.
Oh yes, fucking tight. One day I'll get into it, but it's not this day. This day is talking about Xenos. Man, I actually love the Xenos. My very first army was Tau. I've always been a filthy Xenos lover. I just have to, say that behind closed doors because people get angry. hostile, even genocidal, dare I say, when you mention your Xenos lover.
Well, your
I like
first
Tau
mistake
for 1
was
second.
your first mistake was choosing Tau as your first army, so
Yeah,
that's on you, Mark.
yeah, yeah.
But
I had
okay,
an Asian girlfriend at the time too, and life was just primo.
full disclosure, though, my number one faction, even though it wasn't the first models I picked up, is Necron. So I'm a filthy
Xenos
fan
lover
too.
as well.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell the Order of Xenos that.
Except you don't get called a weeb.
No,
True shame of the Tau.
Cause Necron supremacy.
Yeah. We got 3 very cool Xenos in this episode. My quick little disclaimer here. Let's say this episode has some definitely not canon when it comes to the topics. The Nekulli, I had to stretch them a lot. So you're going to say, like, let's say 75% of it is me just making up. What do I think they'd be like based on artwork or the odd line? The next one, the Oretti, maybe that's a little more than 50% is kind of good canon. And then the last one, the Corel, that's pretty much all good to go. You know, you can recite that in your next lore battle or whatever. So
Interesting. So I like when when we're given a little bit more freedom to kind of theorize on this stuff. That's what really gets the conversations kind of flowing to feels.
yeah, and there's so many minor Xenos where they have 1 or 2 lines where you're like, man, I fell in love with this kind of unique ability or just the way they look, and your mind can run with them so quick.
Mhm. And the best part is you're less likely to get into a lore argument over it because there is no official lore on it. So
I heard on this podcast one time this guy said something about this, and yeah. That's all you get.
Actually, that's not canon because of this stray sentence right here in this paragraph.
Well, actually,
Fuck 'em.
everything is canon.
But not everything is true.
Dun dun dun.
Bombshell.
All right. So what are we doing this episode?
So quick little rundown of how this episode is going to work. If you've heard any of our other minor Xenos mini deep dives, it's going to operate very similar. We're just going to go over each of the major races or each of these minor races, just like a general overview. We'll talk about their appearance in biology. I hope there is no thirsty people in the chat at this point. Their powers and abilities, the history, and the kind of how they come about into galactic history, and like where they are in the galaxy, who they might interact with, cultures and beliefs if there are any, their technology. What is their technology compared to the Imperium to other Xeno species? And with that, their military. This is a war game, so we got to talk about plastic miniature army men. And then what about their galactic relations? How do they interact with like all the major factions in 40K? So that'll be interesting to learn about. And then if we wanted to bring this to the tabletop, how would they look like as a mini? What would their rules be? We're about to find out. So there you go.
Sweet. Well, I guess start us off with the Nekulli. Nekulli, those guys. Just a simple summary. The Nekulli are a little-known Xenos species within the Warhammer 40K universe, encountered mainly through obscure or isolated reports, such as those recorded in the Helican subsector. They are not widely known for expansive empires or violent conflict within the Imperium, but rather for occasional and specific interactions, particularly in the service of the rogue traders. This implies that they operate on the fringes of Imperial space, using their skills in mercenary or auxiliary roles to integrate into human commerce and travel networks without provoking outright hostility. Their presence in places like Bonner's Reach, a space station known for its tolerance towards alien species and interstellar trade, hints at a society conformality in multicultural or neutral zones. Nekulli appear to be pragmatic, rather than ideological in their galactic behavior, possibly maintaining a nomadic or decentralized societal structure. While the Imperium has not classified them as a major threat, they are considered Xenos and treated with the usual suspicion and hostility when outside tolerated areas. These guys
Already our
would be
first little
sick.
bit of xenophobia. Yeah. I can understand, yeah, why you would hate them just based on sight. They're like these weird, almost like ghoulish bark looking people. And then they have the worst dreadlocks of all time. It's like, good times.
They
Good
kind of
times
look
were
like
not
a
had
more
by all.
pacifist predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can almost see a little bit of the Kroot in this picture I pulled up. Oh, that's a better picture where he almost looks like a Kroot side by side.
You see the Kroot. Now that's a cool creature. That looks like a Yuzon Vong we have at home. That's a Star Wars
Yeah.
reference for anyone that knows.
Yeah, the other guy just looks like a Kroot with a little bit depression. He hasn't been out in the sun eating meat for too long, so his quills are like limp-dicked and his jaws and as formed. Yeah. All right. Well, their appearance and biology. The Nekulli exhibit a haunting and corpse-like appearance that immediately distinguish them from other humanoid species. Their frames are gaunt and haunched with a waddling gait, and they are often described as skeletal and dried out. Notable features include long spines or scales extending from their scalp, white slit-pupiled eyes, no visible nose, and sharp upward-pointing lower fangs. This unique physiology contributes to their eerie presence and fuels speculation about their origin and biology. Their visual similarities to the Kroot have been noted by observers, though the Nekulli seem more refined and reserved in demeanor. It is unclear whether these traits serve evolutionary, environmentally, or cultural purposes. While their biology suggests adaptation to harsh environment or a specific form of substance or absence of recorded autopsies and biological studies, leaves many questions unanswered about their internal physiology, reproduction, and lifespan. Yeah, you better believe that some Xenos or some human out there wants to fuck it. That's always the way it goes, man. It's for science. I'm trying to figure out how they reproduce.
It's science if you're just trying to figure that out. It's Slanesh if you're trying to figure out how they reproduce with you.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just forcing Greg to do it. Let a man live.
Who's Greg?
Yeah, pretty cool looking. Yeah, from the picture too, you can see that they use a lot of different type of war gear and body gloves and armor. It almost looks scavenged, like he's using an Imperial gun, and yeah, like it just doesn't look like he's much of an artificer himself.
Just kind of does what he
looks like what he
does on the DL.
Yeah,
Plain Jane the Predator we have at home.
Yeah, kind of looks like a rogue trader just gave him a bunch of stuff as like his bodyguard and said like, "Go play,
have at her,
do what you want."
By the way, I want this stuff back. It's behind the Emperor stuff.
So we made fun of how they're basically the Predator at home, but what kind of powers and abilities do they have? We're about to find out. Though not psychic in nature, as far as records show, heavy air quotes, the Nekulli possess refined combat skills and make use of exotic weaponry, most notably the Whisper Lance. This weapon is a sawtooth spear-like tool that may function both as a close combat weapon and possibly as a ranged or sonic weapon, though the latter is speculation. The Whisper Lance's design, deadly, elegant, and possibly symbolic, suggests a cultural or ritual element to their martial practices. In combat roles, the Nekulli have served as personal protectors or enforcers for rogue traders, showing discipline and strategic capability. Their effectiveness in small-scale confrontations, rather than large military actions, implies that they are more akin to elite mercenaries or bodyguards. There is no indication that they possess advanced psionics or warp manipulation abilities, reinforcing their identity as physical combatants rather than psychic threats.
Yeah, they kind of just seem like nothing too serious so far. Just seems like kind of your average Xenos would kind of just pop up. You know, they're humanoids, got a couple weird features, but nothing too crazy. definitely nothing that makes them stand out like crazy warp powers where you're like, yeah, okay, with that kind of ability, of course you're a major Xenos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not
There's
like they're mega arachnids on murder, just wiping out space marines left and right. But they're not like the Tau, where they're like a super organized like faction. They just kind of seem like, yeah, we do melee. We're kind of cool. We're here.
Yeah.
This is like a case of like that tall poppy syndrome that you might hear about, which is like the tall poppies are going to get cut up because they're way too tall. So that would be like your big Xenos, like your Tau and your Eldar or whatnot. But then like the shorter poppies will also get taken out because they're too weak. So that would be like your really dangerous Xenos, like your Mega Arachnids or your Hrud or Sloth and whatnot. These seem like the poppies that are like just the right height to just escape notice. Like they're not too big of a presence in the galaxy, but they're
Yeah.
not like too aggressive or dangerous to just be taken out outright. But
Yeah, you
obviously-
can trade with them without having to worry about like warp taint on stuff. Or just like being in their very presence makes it so you decay or something weird like that. Yeah, they just seem like you can kind of manage them.
Mm-hmm.
That is possibly the best analogy I've ever heard for Xenos and 40K of all time. That is so perfect for 40K.
You heard it here,
But
folks.
anyway,
They're
onto
all
their
poppies.
There's an American foreign policy. I think it's called like cutting the grass or something, mowing the grass. People will probably know, but we don't need to get into that. But yeah, it's similar policy when it comes to Xenos for sure.
yeah. Anyway, let's learn a little bit about their history. Little is known about the full history of the Nekulli. They do not appear in records as a major empire or a once ruling civilization like the Eldar or Necron. Instead, their history is pieced together through brief appearances in imperial records, particularly involving the Inquisition and the Rogue Trader dynasties in the Helican subsector. The most well-known encounter occurred during the time of the Inquisitor Ravenor, where Nekulli was documented in the company of a rogue trader. This limited historical footprint could suggest a number of possibilities. They may be a young species on the verge of the galactic stage, or an old one in decline, or simply a highly secretive civilization that avoids detection. Their apparent willingness to work alongside humans in tolerated regions hints at a species more concerned with survival and trade than expansion or conquest. Without more detailed records or captured documents, their deeper history remains a mystery to imperial scholars.
Yeah. Willing to trade weapons, but not information necessarily.
Yeah. Again, back to the poppy seed or poppy flowers. They're in the Imperium, like if you're like this tall to about like up here, you're getting just murked.
Yeah,
But they somehow like retain that like small, but not too small, like stance where they have a use for the Imperium or for people who could use them in the Imperium, but they're not too like weak and like, oh, let's all be friends to get like
Yeah.
destroyed.
Their homeworld and galactic geography. The Nekulli's homeworld has never officially been recorded, and it is possible that they are either a nomadic race or that their planet lies in the uncharted or forbidden region of space. Their most commonly reported sightings occur in the Helican subsector, particularly on space stations like Bonner's Reach, which is known for its relative tolerance towards Xenos and strategic value as a neutral ground for trade and negotiation. Their activity in the Helican subsector suggests that they maintain a presence in this region, potentially operating from unknown bases or traveling in specifically designed vessels. Their description of the ship's long, narrow craft with serrated blade-like prows imply a spacefaring culture with an access to advanced engineering. Though the Imperium keeps records of Xenos encounters, the fact that the Nekulli have avoided large-scale conflicts means their territory, if it exists, remains undiscovered or deliberately concealed. Yeah, they have a cool little one sentence of what their ship is like, and I wish we knew more of this like bladed, serrated prow like ship, but that's all we get to know. And not all these Xenos can fly around space. So it is interesting. Like, how did they? What are they up to in the galaxy? What unleashed them? Did they unleash themselves, or did they steal technology to get off planet? These guys probably made some.
Kind of makes me think of like a Drukari Ravager when they're talking about like the
Yeah.
serrated spikes and the serrated spikes and blade like prows. That sounds very Drukari to my mind, but
yeah, I like it.
Yep. But again, like they don't act like as dark and as edgy as the Drukari, or they're not as aggressive as these other Xenos. So it's like they know how to. They look the part, but they kind of back off a little bit, like what we were talking about with that Poppy analogy.
Yeah.
So, but where did this all come from? Well, here's what we do know about their cultures and beliefs. The Nekulli's culture remains largely undocumented within the Imperial records, likely due to their limited contact with the Imperium and their preference for keeping to the fringes of human-dominated space. However, some details hint at a structured social hierarchy or martial tradition, as evidenced by their role as bodyguards to human rogue traders. This indicates a culture where martial prowess, loyalty, and honor may be valued traits. The distinctive, uniform design of their weaponry and ships also suggests a shared cultural aesthetic or standardized system of craft, pointing towards a cohesive social identity, even if the specifics remain unknown. While no official documentation exists regarding their religion or spiritual beliefs, the Nekulli's somber, corpse-like appearance and the eerie, possibly ritualistic design of their whisper lances have led some xenologists to speculate about a funerary or death-centric cultural theme. Whether this interpretation reflects truth or is a misjudgment born of human bias is unclear. The lack of open aggression toward Imperial citizens in known encounters may also suggest a pragmatic or mercantile philosophy where alliances and contracts are held in higher regard than ideological conflict. All right.
Yeah. Kind of another one where we just don't know a whole lot, really. We know that they're willing to trade, and you can then kind of stretch what we think we might know about them. But yeah, we don't know a whole lot.
Yeah, maybe they're like a Xeno race. That's like your word is everything. Like you put it down on paper, you better be doing that.
Sure, like the Ferengi or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They could just be hyper aware too of their situation, where they're like, okay, we've only been off our planet now for like 200 years. Maybe we shouldn't kick the biggest Xenos in the galaxy's fucking dick, Maybe let's avoid them or try not to, piss off the Imperium. But we just don't know.
They must have taken some lessons from the Tau when they first emerged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting, like looks wise, like physically, they almost look like Kroot. Design and aesthetic wise, I'm sensing a lot of Drukari. But then, like, as far as how they go about themselves, they almost act in a way like the Leagues of Votan do, with like their emphasis on like contracts and trade and dealing like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, what kind of technology do they possess? Well, the Nekulli possess a distinctive technological aesthetic, most prominently seen in their Whisper Lance weapon. This versatile tool appears to function both as a melee weapon and a potentially ranged or sound-based device. Although exact functions are not confirmed, the sawtooth edge suggests a brutal close combat utility, while other features, like a rumored sonic emission function, imply more sophisticated mechanisms. The existence of this multi-use weapon supports the idea that the Nekulli favor adaptable, efficient, and possibly ceremonial tools in warfare and diplomacy alike. Their spacecraft further reflect this technological identity, described as long and slender, with serrated prows echoing the Whisper Lance's design. The Nekulli's vessels are rarely seen and are mostly known from sightings near free ports like Bonner's Reach. These
Are you
designs
now?
suggest a preference for yeah, Slanesh, I swear. Not this episode.
No,
These
not
designs
even not
Not
even 30
again,
minutes
Gerald.
in.
It's
Not even
happening
30
to you
minutes
again.
in. No, I'm screaming internally right now.
All right, get the nipple tape out. Somebody has to get
handshake.
shaved. Handshake.
It's the Nekulli guys. Like, come on. No, but these designs suggest a preference for speed and possibly stealth over brute force, perhaps tailored for escort, ambush, or mercantile missions rather than open war. The fusion of artistry and lethality in both personal and starship equipment marks the Nekulli as technologically competent and thematically unified in their approach to technology.
Yeah, cool. Um,
So, a little cool thing that might be inferred from this is that even though they're kind of like spread out a little bit, they're still unified in this like we all think the exact same way in these ships and how we use our
yeah,
whisper lances.
yeah, they're not like they're not warring with themselves or something. They're pretty unified.
Hmm.
They're military. There's little formal record. Yeah.
I'm sensing a pattern in this part of the notes.
Listen, I really liked the way this artwork was, and I loved the Whisperlands, and they had a couple cool lines. I'm like, I gotta include them, but how? But how? Oh, I know. There's little formal record of the Nekulli fielding large-scale armies, but they are known to participate in combat roles as elite bodyguards and enforcers. This implies that their military structure, if it exists formally, likely emphasizes quality over quantity. Individuals encountered in Imperial space are usually well armed and exhibit combat discipline, suggesting a martial tradition and specializing in training. Their apparent selection as retainers for powerful humans, such as rogue traders, further supports the notion that they are reliable, disciplined warriors, valued for their loyalty and skill. Their whisper lance, while brutal yet elegant, and when paired with their haunting skeletal frame and unsettling aura, Nekulli warriors are likely meant to inspire fear as much as they are to fight effectively. However, no known record exists of full-scale battles involving Nekulli forces. This combination, combined with the fact that they operate in the fringe territories like the Hikilian subsector, may indicate that the Nekulli favor skirmishes, duels, or protective assignments over formal warfare. If they do possess greater military force, it remains unseen and undocumented by the Imperium. That is a cool kind of concept of like they look gross and savage and ghoulish, and they kind of recognize it, and then they make this chainsaw and they call it the Whisper Lance that creates this like almost like supernatural howling sound as it revs. So then you line up a bunch of these like ghouls and their howling weapons that just rip apart people. Like, yeah, quite the fear inducing alien.
Yep. And to be an alien, lest we forget, to be a Xenos as part of like a rogue trader or even an Inquisitor's retinue, that's a pretty good mark of status, given how the Imperium is shoot on sight towards any aliens. So
yeah, it's just like you just can't work with orcs, even if they weren't violent and dangerous and always going to betray you. They're constantly leaking spores, so you just can't do it. It just don't work. But these guys, they're so passive
for the most part.
For the most part,
at least that
Well,
as
passive
far as
for 40K.
Yeah, for 40K.
yeah. But so we kind of dipped into how the Imperium kind of looks at them, but what about the rest of the galaxy? So what kind of galactic relations do they have? The Nekulli maintain a subtle yet notable presence within Imperial-controlled space, particularly in sectors like Helicon. Their relationship with humanity is not defined by open hostility. Rather, they are tolerated in specific contexts, especially as associates or mercenaries under rogue trader contracts. Excuse me. This suggests a diplomatic or opportunistic mindset where survival and advantage take precedence over ideological confrontation. Their presence in Bonner's Reach, a major hub of free commerce and Xenos interaction, underscores their comfort with interspecies diplomacy and trade. Now, I got a question about this Bonner's Reach station. It said multiple times that it was more tolerant towards like multiracial, multi-species mingling. How does the rest of the Imperium at large not take note of this and declare exterminatus or heresy?
The galaxy is such a big place, man. And just imagine you heard rumors of this star station that's kind of hidden. You got to try to find it now. And like, I don't know. I just feel like too, the Imperium has so many other things to deal with that you wouldn't need to do anything with this. And then maybe my final thought would be, you almost always need like maintained dark underhives, if that makes sense, where it's like, yeah, the Imperium may know about this and they kind of almost sanction this lightly so that they can kind of get access to some of these Xenos things unconventionally, or just have access to that Xenos black market or the cold trade.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It also might just be just like the Imperium can't be everywhere all at once. So maybe like in some like distant sector, like they have this one space station that got converted to a Xeno-friendly place where over time the locals like, oh, Xenos are bad, to, oh, Xenos are fine as long as they're not orcs or Tyranids.
Well, I guess I better hope like the wrong Inquisitor or the wrong Space Marine chapter doesn't just happen upon that place and then see the heresy that's unfolding. Then they're about to have a bad time.
Yeah, then there might be some issues for sure.
Yeah, because all it takes is
I always wondered. I was just about to say, I always wondered what would happen if you exterminatus like a spaceport or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the type of exterminatus. You know, there's virus bombs and there's cyclone torpedoes, which is more like you crack the surface of the planet more so than like burn the planet in its own gun.
Favorite's the last battery. Just a singular beam of fuck you energy on the planet.
Yeah, that shoots right to its core. Yeah.
Yep. I imagine for the Imperium, it's just another Tuesday if they did. So, all right, where did I leave off? We got on a bit of a tangent there. Okay, here we go. While their interactions with the Imperium are limited and highly localized, the Nekulli likely maintain broader contract with other Xeno species in the region. Their advanced weaponry and ships, alongside their mercenary roles, hint at the network of relations beyond Imperial sight. Given their elusive nature and the Imperium's general Xenos hostile policies, the Nekulli wisely avoid drawing attention, integrating themselves into tolerated loopholes within rogue trader dynasties and natural territories. This keeps them in a gray zone, neither ally nor declared enemy, surviving and operating in the cracks of Imperial law, which, I mean, this is 40K. If you're in a gray zone where you're just kind of ignored, that's probably the best outcome you could possibly hope for.
Yeah, that's pretty well where you want to be.
Sick. So before we move on real quick.
Representation and minis. How would we get these guys on tabletop? I think, Gerald, you kind of hit a little bit of it with the combination of Dark Eldar bits, a little bit of Kroot, and I think you said one other thing.
I kind of got like Predator vibes too from it.
Yeah, maybe you toss some Imperial tech in there, like so you use Dark Eldar kind of bodies. Maybe slap on a Kroot head that has some bent out quills, not so sticky. Sharp.
Oh, I said Leagues of Votann and their dealings and their contracts. That's what I said.
Yeah. So maybe not just Imperial gear, just like random gear. If you can fit a Votann gun on there, sure. If you can fit a Kroot gun on one of these guys, whatever you got, slap it on. They're trading. Open for business.
You could easily make a kill team out of these guys with literally any bits almost any bits that you want. Yeah,
for sure. That's where you would see these guys. If you've seen them anywhere, it would be kill team or even smaller, like RPG level. Their Whisper Lance would be pretty easy to make. Tons of chainsaws out there, so you could fucking slap some stuff together and make it appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Cool.
real quick before we move on, what do you think actually like happened to these guys? Do you think they're this like massive like empire that fell off, or do you think they're just some like random dudes who are just like going around the galaxy?
Hard to say. I like to think that they're just some upcoming race. You know, they're not that popular. They're not that spread out across the galaxy. And you know, maybe another thought is maybe just not all aliens have to have galactic domination as their ultimate goal. You know, maybe they're just happy just kind of doing their thing.
They're just happy to exist. And they
Yeah.
can stick with their small empire. Kind of like Mass Effect. Like you have the humans, you have the Turians and the Asari, but you got like all your little races like the Volus, the Hanar, and they're just fine existing as like a client race for the most part. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But to be honest with you guys, so we know the story of like humans, Necron, Eldar. They were all created by the old ones and they had a certain purpose. I'm trying to think if like these guys were created by the old ones, what would their purpose be?
I
If they ever
think though
had one to begin with.
that's always misinterpreted. The old ones seeded the galaxy with life. I don't think they intentionally designed anything that they did. Like they seeded the galaxy and then they came across the Eldar and like this one worked out really good. Let's take them under our wing, or like the Quarks. Let's take them under our wing. But that was over the course of millions of years of seeding and natural evolution. That's the way it really sounds. It's not like they were like Primarchs where the old ones were making Xenos in a lab. There's vials everywhere. Everything's an exact science. It's more like they shot some bacteria onto a dead world and waited a million years and hoped to God that something useful came from it.
I see what you mean with like that purpose built though, because the War in Heaven, like the Eldar and the Krork were like a major facet of the old ones versus the Necrons. So there might have been a little bit of like tampering and manipulation in that regard. But yeah, like
still
along
don't
the
think
lines of
so. Yeah, I still don't. Like I just don't think it's I don't think it's implied anywhere that that's how seeding works. Like typically when you think of seeding, it's not that. It's not genetically manipulating lines. It's like introducing something to an already existing ecosystem more so. You know, I'm not a geneticist. We all know this. Are you, Gerald?
Nope. I
Jax?
just took a genetics class in college. That's that's my only claim.
Fuck. That's not gonna do us any good.
Nope.
It wasn't even space genetics.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I think they just came across the Eldar and like, man, that's super cool. Like we could really use these guys here. But all right, I don't know. Any other thoughts before we move to the next
got
guys?
the I guess I got like the crackpot like theory, like, okay, Nekulli, they have a purpose. They're just not telling us just yet.
Do you have a purpose, Jax? What is your purpose?
I just have to cope and seethe and make sure the Night Lords are known somewhere.
That's your purpose.
You had your 4 episodes.
Yeah.
You had your 4 episodes. It's done. We're moving on to the next Primarch.
Oh man. Yeah, let's hop on to the next Xenos, the Oretti.
Anyway, yeah, the brief summary of the Oretti. The Oretti are a sentient Xenos species described as insecto-humanoids or hominids. Hominids? Nids, Tyranids.
Hey.
Once known for their peaceful and spiritually rich civilization, they lived in harmony on a paradise world. Oh no. Building intricate web-like temples called hamamets that served as centers of devotion and art. The Oretti had no ambitions for galactic conquest, choosing instead to focus on internal growth and contemplation. This can only go one way in 40K.
Yeah, have you ever heard of a race like this in 40K? I was reading, I'm like, wait a minute, how pacifists?
They're actually nice and peaceful. Oh, exterminatus.
Kill him! Kill him! That's extra heretical. Burn him with fire.
Anyway, however, their passive nature left them defenseless against repeated invasions by hostile forces. Who would have thunk? Over time, their population was decimated, and their once beautiful world was lost. The remnants of their race were forced to abandon their home and become nomads, roaming the galaxy in scattered void ships, clinging to survival through scavenging and trade.
Look at these fucking guys. Of course they're pacifists. Their parents like, no, we won't let the neighborhood kids make fun of you, Jimmy. Yeah, I know you look retarded, but no, we won't let that. So he's grown up, never been made fun of, and then he gets sent out to the galaxy. And he thinks it's a nice place, but he looks retarded, so it's not a good place to him. And people keep attacking him and making fun of him. We were talking about their appearance. They're like these weird Hodge things. Jax, I think you said in the chat on Discord, you're like, "Hey, an episode dedicated to me." So that was pretty fun for you.
Okay. Yeah, they do look like a super like slow alien race. They talk like, "Oh man, guess we gotta do this now," or something.
Yeah. Their appearance and biology. The Oretti possess a distinctive autonomy that blends instinct-like features with humanoid traits. Their bodies are covered in thick, leathery carapaces that have elongated, multi-jointed limbs ending in hooves. Hooves, goddammit, hooves!
They're cow people.
They're goddamn cow people. Their faces are surrounded by writhing they're goddamn cow octopus people. Writhing tentacles, and their eyes appear as clustered spider-like orbs. They're goddamn cow tentacle spider people with a haunting alien visage. Fuck them. This is why you kill all Xenos on sight.
I cracked the case. It's Cthulhu.
Males are relatively small and agile, with 2 long forelimbs and a single powerful back limb used for jumping. Females, in contrast, are towering and imposing, standing taller than a space marine, with bodies protected by iridescent armor plates. They carry energy weapons and long, gleaming blades, suggesting that despite the Oretti's past pacifism, their biology can support combat roles when necessary. Yeah. You know, even pacifists usually will pick up that weapon to defend themselves. So
If they absolutely have to.
yeah, it's not ideal, but
Oh man, I
mean,
didn't want to fight today.
oh man, here I go killing again.
Oh well. Winnie, get the pulse rifle.
Yeah, they look so stupidly gross. Man.
But they're taller than a
Ooh.
space marine, which, ooh,
The females
that's
are.
gotta be horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I always thought this fucking thing had 4 legs. It only has 3. It's a tripod.
Oh, so it's like those aliens from War of the Worlds.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Mm.
Tell me more about this fucking thing.
Let's get this over with. We're gonna finish talking about this so we can move on to the next alien race.
We need to categorize them so we can destroy them.
And then we're gonna make the Oretti pay for it. We're gonna destroy them and we're gonna make them pay for it. So
Deport the Oretti.
they were already deported.
Well,
Deport them right to hell.
Oh man. So powers and abilities. So what do these guys do? The Oretti possess advanced technology, including energy weapons that, while not strong enough to pierce Space Marine armor, are deadly to unarmored foes. Males use belly appendages to wield these devices, suggesting a unique approach to tool and weapon manipulation. Females, being more robust, are outfitted for more intense combat with both energy and melee weapons. The female is really the more dangerous of the species. Once a peaceful people, surviving Oretti have grown more aggressive and warlike. This behavioral shift is likely a result of the trauma of their near extinction and the hostile environments they now inhabit. Their ability to adapt from spiritual artists to hardened scavengers demonstrates both resilience and a latent martial potential.
Yeah, interesting.
A
So
belly,
something
a belly arm, just like fight me.
fight. Oh, and since it's so big, you have to like fight it like Sam fights Shelob from kind of underneath it. It's always kind of jumping on you and shit. Fuck. Get your tentacles off me, you slimy. Yeah.
But what do you think took them out? Like, they can't hurt Space Marines through their armor. So do you think like they dropped a chapter down there as like, okay, this was easy. Add them to the list of Exterminatus Xenos.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
could
give
even
it-
be natural disaster, possibly. You know, asteroid impact wiped out their planet. Like, oh,
Mhm.
and like at that point, they still haven't like learned that the galaxy's dark. You know, they're still pretty pacifist.
Yep, maybe a Jakari raid here, an Orc Wah there.
Every now and
I
again.
don't know. Yeah. So
Yeah, to maybe answer that question, their history. The Oretti once flourished on a tranquil world where they constructed monumental temples and lived without war or conquest. Their culture emphasized artistry, devotion, and spiritual enlightenment. However, this same pacifism left them vulnerable. Over centuries, they suffered numerous invasions that shattered their civilization and reduced their numbers drastically. Forced to flee their own world, the surviving Oretti became spacefaring nomads. They wandered from system to system, salvaging technology and resources from abandoned or hazardous planets. Their trust in o- their trust in others often led to betrayal, and some were manipulated into entering deadly regions of space. In time, this pattern of persecution reshaped them into a more guarded, militarized people willing to fight for their own survival.
Yeah, what else do you do, man? You just kind of got to. You go out into the galaxy and you all happy and friendly. The first Xenos you come in contact with tries to fucking annihilate your host species or something. Like, man, we were just trying to trade you these cool trinkets we made.
Yeah, so I think there's like 36 main factions in 40K, and one of them is the Tau. So you have a 1 out of a 36% chance of meeting the only good guys in the setting who will take you in, and no matter who you are, as long as you accept the greater good.
As long as you change everything about yourself.
Exactly.
oh, what's that? Don't want to? Here, let's come on and go to school. We're you get to join our education camps and learning more about the greater good against your
You'll love
will.
it. You'll love it. The mind probes barely hurt.
I'm starting to get like another sense here, but I'll wait until we get further down the notes.
All right, we'll jump into the homeworld and galactic geography. I always say that word like a retard. Garage, geography. It's bad. It's not a good lifestyle I live sometimes, but we'll talk about it. They already originated from a lush paradise planet, ideal for a peaceful and introspective civilization. This world was dotted with their great hammamets, delicate yet vast structures that reflected their artistic and spiritual depth. Their society was insular, by choice, uninterested in expanding beyond their planet's serene boundaries. After their homeworld was lost, they already scattered through the galaxy with no permanent world. They now drift through the stars in small fleets and encampments. Some established temporary settlements on desolate or dangerous worlds, using their remaining knowledge to survive. Despite their diminished state, echoes of their once great culture remain, haunting the galaxy like the remnants of the fallen dream. Okay, so every Xenos must have a purpose, hey Jack. So maybe this Xenos's purpose is just like Imperium, baby Imperium's first Xenos that they get to kill. You know, you stick a toddler, Acadian toddler, in a ring with one of these guys, and you're like, okay, you can kill this. This will be your first blood. It's an easy win. You got this.
They're the tutorial for the Imperium.
See, yes, that is correct. It's easy mode with these guys. You can with their 3 legs, you can kind of just topple them over, and they're like, no, the pyramid's the strongest, and you just fucking push these bitches over because they're missing a leg.
It's kind of like punching a child, right? It's like or like hurting like a pacifist.
Feels good,
like,
but you shouldn't do it. Like,
yeah.
feels great, but geez, do people get mad?
What am I going to do with you people? What am I going to do with you people? Okay, so the connection
church, I think.
In nomine Patris Filii et Imperator, amen. Ball round to the head. So the other connection I'm kind of noticing too, back to Mass Effect, the double nerding. What do you mean, you people? Yeah, got me there, Grim. So back to the Mass Effect analogy with the Nekulli. This kind of strikes me as like the writer in charge of coming up with this race had like a serious hate boner for the Quarians from Mass Effect, because they too were a humanoid. They too were an alien species that lost their paradise homeworld to invasions and AI, and are also nomadic in nature.
Okay. Yeah. Do they also look like a freak? The galaxy's freak?
Nah, they're more humanoid, but they keep like their faces hidden because they have like super sensitive immune system because they are living on sterile ships the entire time. So like anything outside of like their sterile environment could possibly kill them with like a common cold.
Ah.
And the Quarians are more hot. My first romance in Mass Effect.
My second.
Xeno supremacy.
Xeno. Oh my god.
High five.
Yeah, there's some things we just don't need to know about people. Court's tooth fetish. Now we know that you had a Mass Effect Xeno's fetish there, Jax. Yikes.
Okay.
Actually, no,
you're right. Almost every game.
To be fair to Jax, my first one was the Asari girl from Mass Effect 1, so
yeah, you know mine was crude. Something about the quills. I just wanted to rattle up and down my back. Anyways, tell me about their culture and belief.
Okay, yeah, before we delve into some Slaaneshi territory, which we've already been doing that for this part of the night, the Oretti once thrived as a deeply spiritual and artistic civilization. Their society centered around constructing vast web-like temples called hammamets. That's how I'm going to say it. Makes me think of hamana, which housed intricate works of devotional art. These temples were not only architectural marvels, but also served as a focal point for their cultural and religious practices. The Oretti valued peace and introspection, focusing on internal development and spiritual fulfillment rather than territorial expansion or conquest. Their interactions with other species were marked by hospitality and desire for mutual understanding. How very quaint. They welcomed outsiders with offers of trade and camaraderie, reflecting these pacifistic ethos. However, this openness made them vulnerable to exploitation and aggression, leading to repeated invasions that ultimately decimated their population and destroyed their cultural landmarks. Despite these hardships, the remnants of their culture continue to influence their identity as they navigate the galaxy as nomadic survivors. We just can't have nice things in 40K. We just
Why
can't.
would you want nice things though? You know, that just means they could break. Just start with the broken state. Skip a step.
I can imagine a Dark Eldar is like, look behind you, a present or something, and then like the Oretti's like slowly like, whoa, and then the Dark Eldar like stabs in the leg or something.
Yeah, has a monomolecular like wire film that they always trip them over. Haha, push them over, cuts one of their legs off.
Or like a Death Guard Marine just shows up. It's like, I come bearing gifts too. It's like, oh, that's a nice present. I also bring you space aids.
No. Fuck these aliens. Tell me about their technology. Did they even have any, or they just... How do you build them if your hands end in hooves?
Yeah. The Oretti demonstrated advanced technological skills, particularly in constructing void ships and developing energy-based weaponry. Their spacecraft, while not designed for warfare, supported their exploration and trade activities. Their energy weapons emitted particle beams effective against unarmored targets, but insufficient to penetrate heavily armored foes. These weapons were wielded uniquely by males using specialized belly appendages, showcasing a distinct ability to their physiology. Following the collapse of their civilization, the Oretti adapted their technology towards scavenging and survival. They became proficient at salvaging and repurposing technology from abandoned or dangerous worlds, using whatever resources were available to sustain themselves. This shift from creators to scavengers highlights their resilience and ability to adapt despite diminished technological capabilities over time. So
All right.
basically they use those like little like arms from the bellies.
I don't like that. fucking weirdos. Yeah, no, okay, so the belly arms is interesting. Suppose you can get some stuff done with that kind of setup.
I'm just drawing up like this image of like that one tentacled monster from Monsters Inc. That's just like as he's going inside the closet door.
I think that is perfect. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, they're just freaks. They deserved it.
It's gross, purge it.
All right, they're military. How easy will it be to purge these guys? Originally, the Oretti were a non-militaristic species, placing little emphasis on warfare and defense. Their weaponry was primarily ceremonial or for basic self-defense and lacked the strength to deter aggressive invaders. Their knives aren't sharp. It's like when you buy a sword online and it comes dull, and you're like, "What the? How am I supposed to hurt anyone with this?" Jeez Louise. For ceremonial or basic self-defense and lacked the strength to deter aggressive invaders. The pacifist stance contributed to their vulnerability and eventual downfall. In recent times, however, surviving Oretti have reportedly adopted a more militant posture. Encounters suggest they have become heavily armored and more aggressive, likely as a response to the centuries of persecution of the harsh realities of survival. This shift reflects a significant change in the societal values, emphasizing militarization to defend themselves within a hostile galaxy. Yeah. Kill or be killed.
Yeah. So they
Dog
did
eat
become
dog.
more 40K-esque.
Plain Jane asks, so hearing that again, only the males have an extra belly appendage? I didn't catch that. Did you guys
They emphasize that when talking about the males, but if it makes you feel better, Plain Jane, the females are bigger and taller than a Space Marine and more heavily armored. So
nice.
Sounds like they're a little bit more combat ready than the males are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
So-
like the males are like the fast scouts or shock troops. Because it was said previously that they're good at jumping, they're smaller, they're more quick and agile, whereas like the females are more like tanks.
Yeah.
Yep. So girl power. Yay.
Sure, why
Yeah.
not? Fuck it. At this point, I'll accept anything when it comes to Xenos wackiness.
In all seriousness, this is pretty fun and interesting to learn about. Besides, besides like undead metal skeletons or horny elves or whatever Jax has a fetish for these days.
Yeah, I'm telling.
All the above.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this must be the only pacifist race in all of 40K, and they even still have guns.
Yeah,
well,
it's kind of
used to be.
Yeah,
the pacifist.
They say more aggressive. I think of it just like instead of being like, "Hey guys, how's it going today?" It's more just like, "Hey, stop that! Don't be such a bully."
Fuck.
Just a little bit more assertive.
Yeah, a little more assertive. Yeah, for sure.
Now, speaking of being assertive, you were going to say something, Mark?
No, you go for it.
Okay. How assertive are they towards the rest of the galaxy? Galactic relations, everybody. Really awkward tangent. Here we go. Segue, sorry, not tangent. Initially, the Oretti pursued peaceful relations with other species, engaging in trade and cultural exchanges that reflected their commitment to harmony and mutual respect. Their openness and pacifism fostered goodwill, but often exposed them to hostility from more aggressive civilizations. As a result, the Oretti were frequently targeted and marginalized. Their lack of military strength made them easy prey for opportunistic forces, leading to the loss of their homeworld and words are hard tonight, and the dispersal of their people. Today, the Oretti are often viewed with suspicion or indifference. Their once vibrant culture reduced to scattered remnants, struggling to find a place in an unforgiving galaxy. So,
Dang.
Yeah,
These poor
sucks to
guys.
kind of suck, you know. Yeah, just imagine being born into this galaxy and just being a fleshy meat sack, and you just suck, and you come across like orcs, and you're like, man, I wish I had biceps, but all I got is these weird tentacle fucking things.
You're making me drop another Mass Effect analogy. These also kind of make me think of the Volus, which are like basically think like squats in a gravity suit because they live in like a highly pressurized homeworld. And if that suit is breached and they're met with the pressure on the outside, they literally explode.
Fuck yeah.
And people in the game comment on like, yeah, I nicked this one Volus' suit. He popped like a balloon. It was hilarious.
Like a sick.
With these guys, though, it's they stub their toe and they just fall over.
It's very slowly. Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah.
How would you make these minis? Maybe you could kit bash some Tyranids on there. Dark Eldar armor kind of would match the way they have these like ridges, almost serrated armor. But man, like this isn't a humanoid creature, so it'd be so hard to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these guys.
Maybe some Ideneth Deepkin monsters with like Tyranid bits.
Yeah.
Or
just my buddy at Void. Fucking what is it? Voidborn Studios at Etsy, and he might just be able to design up a 3D printed little fucking Xenos for you.
Hey, shameless plug.
Cobbler. Yeah. He was super helpful, man. He's been designing. He's been going hard. He's making like captain shoulder pads where it's like, okay, add the iron halo on there, add this onto the shoulder pad. All types of fucking cool stuff, man. 3D printing's a game changer. I love it. Now that's shameless. Voidborn Studios.
Sorry, I was laughing at Dylan's comment. I mean, they look like they would go good with butter.
Yeah, there we go for sure. Absolutely. That's so funny.
Oh, you better believe at some point in the Imperium was like cow, spider, octopus. Food.
What do they taste like? Yeah. There's no way people haven't tried eating tau before. If it has hooves, I've tried eating it.
So instead of red lobster, it's red Oretti.
Oh.
Actually, Space Marines, you know how they eat like brains and stuff to like learn stuff about their enemies?
Yeah.
I wonder if they like prefer like some Xenos over another. Like, oh, you want to go to some Taco Tau after this, and after that, they're just eating Tau and stuff.
Taco Tau.
Taco Tau.
Yikes. Yeah. Is that legal? That doesn't seem legal.
I think it's like a Japanese taco or something like that.
Okay, I'll ask Ursats next time I talk to him.
Oh boy. Oh man, I think we've kind of dunked on these poor guys enough. Let's move on to the next. Move on to the next Xenos.
Our third and final Xenos. What do we have? Drum roll. This one actually was pretty cool. They had a lot of information on it, including some cool artwork that I'll be pulling up here. Yeah, lots of cool quotes and stuff. It was very cool. Tell us about them.
So I have the overview, but I don't speak English very well, and that name is looking very hard to pronounce. So I'm just gonna roll with the coral for now,
Yeah.
and we do have a quote about him. All of these texts usually begin with the bold proclamation of swarm superiority, their ownership of the planet system in question, and their goal of eventually dominating the galactic core. A bold race. Explorer Mari Alts, Xenos Ferens, the frenzied gulf travels through the segmentum pacificus by explorer Mari Alice, Chapter 34, The Coral Swarm World, Loquit and its surroundings. The coral are a rarely encountered Xenos species within the galaxy Warhammer 40k, though primarily through their brief appearances in Imperial records. They are an insectoid race with a rigid caste structure and a unique biological and societal organization. The coral are highly territorial and have been noted for their aggressive defense of their domain, showing little tolerance for intruders. Despite their limited exposure in imperial encounters, they are considered a significant enough threat to be cataloged and studied by the Imperium's Xenos-focused factions. The species appears to possess a cohesive, hive-like society, dominated by pheromone-based communication and control. This level of coordination allows them to act in unison with near perfect discipline, often likened to the behavior of Tyrannid organisms or other insectoid collectives. However, the Coral are not a splinter fleet of the Tyrannids. They are an entirely separate Xenos civilization. The Adeptus Mechanicus and the Inquisition have shown interest in their biology and behavior, particularly due to their complex societal structure and their use of bioengineering.
Oof. Man, it just seems
So,
like every time you come across like bugs in 40k, you gotta burn it with fire. Every time. They're always bad. Especially when they start like bioengineering or bio cyborging, biomechanicaling themselves out. So you got like, an 8-limbed spider that each one of its limbs ends in a gun. And you're just like, how do I compare with that as a human?
Why does it have to? Why did it have like Indiana Jones with his snakes? Why did it have to be bugs?
Why? Yeah, why? Who let these bugs get so big too?
yeah, they kind of remind me of the bugs from Ender's Game a little bit,
Okay,
like
yeah, I'm
kind of like a hive structure.
familiar. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
Extra
everyone
close is the real
gives the Tau
diversity.
shit for their pheromone control, and then yet these guys do it. Come on.
All right, let's get into their appearance and biology. I have touched divinity, and his face was not human. Magos biologist Charlie Darvis. The coral are insectoid creatures resembling oversized wasps or ants with carapace segmented body and multiple limbs, suited for both labor and combat. Their physiology is adapted to their hive society, with each caste of coral fulfilling a specific role, ranging from workers to soldiers to egg-laying queens that serve as the center of their hives. Their exoskeletons are tough and naturally armored, making them resilient to physical damage, and their body structure suggests they evolved in high-gravity environment, or one requiring significant bodily support. One of the most fascinating aspects of the coral biology is their neural and chemical communication system. Pheromones allow for complex instructions and emotional states to be transmitted instantly among nearby coral, effectively giving them a form of telepathic communication that does not rely on language. Additionally, the queen appears to extend a powerful mental influence over the rest of the hive, bringing the coral into the ethereal mind force. Their larvae and reproductive methods suggest rapid breeding and colony expansion potential, marking them as dangerous species if left unchecked. I have pulled a strange diamond-shaped organ from the chemical chimneys of the coral's back, one on each side, both connected to its brain. Is this where my blood would have ended up, and had I let let that precious thing live, mixed in a pheromonal paste and dispersed through the air like incense, what a wonder it would have been to see, laughs, then sobs. I can't keep killing them. There's so few left. I must be strong. I studied 13 years ago on Mars to become a Magos. I was respected as a master of my art. How have I become so weak, so attached? This organ, this small, bony, pheromone-filled thing, I've seen its like before. Just this week, torn from another of my butchered pets. There's its... That... Let that coincidence be one of my offerings to the Arbiter's bastard. Let him do with it as he will. Let him leave me alone another day. Voice log file Magos biologist Cheryl Starvis. Bio ledger dad. Local date day 62, the 15th, 20th laboratory. Yeah. Man, if I would have controlled F and replaced Coral with Ethereal in these last two paragraphs, including the caste system, the pheromone, slight telepathy, very similar kind of way that they operate their society and have that like dominated control.
It's
Rupert
freaky too. Like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, Rupert makes a suggestion. Sounds similar to the rat ghoul? Question mark.
No, they're a little more different. They're more autonomous, and they're actually almost more like predator vibes, honestly. Yeah, I think a close comparison would be the Tau. You know, they have castes. They are born to do a specific function. You're a worker. You're a warrior. You know, there's that pheromonal control. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are freaky though, because if you kind of think of like these quotes as like, oh, these guys were once like our greatest enemies, and now like they're super nice, and I don't want to kill sobs. That's horrifying. Like if it's like taking control of its mind through pheromones, and it doesn't just affect other bugs.
Oh yeah, that's a fun thought. Yeah.
Well, like even in the notes here, like with the last quote that Mark was reading, it was just like the way the guy was saying is like he's noticing in his blood this pheromonal pace. He's laughing, then he's sobbing, and then he just takes a long pause. He's just like, "Why am I being so attached?" All of a sudden,
what is happening? Yeah, fucking weird.
This guy's a Magos from Mars. Like he's like mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
That's freaky.
So it's kind of want to. I wonder if this like pheromone that they're exuding is different or similar to the ethereals from the Tau, but I guess that's what the powers and abilities notes are for. So the Coral's most notable ability is their hive mind coordination, which allows them to function with frightening unity and speed. In combat, this translates into synchronized attacks, ambushes, and tactical retreats without the need for verbal commands or visible communication. Their response time is incredibly fast, often catching enemies off guard with the precision and timing of their movements. When one coral detects a threat, the entire hive may react as if one organism. In addition to this hive coordination, that doesn't sound too good. It's like trying to kill. It's like trying to put poison in ant beds, only for all of them to react and then try to bite you.
Yeah,
I'm not speaking that from experience at all. In addition to this hive coordination, the coral possess natural weaponry such as claws, mandibles, and potentially bioengineered toxins. Lovely. Their larger members, possibly warrior castes, can be outfitted with organic weapons or armor, and some reports mention them capturing and modifying technology for their own use. The queens themselves may have psionic or pheromonal control abilities that can influence not just the other coral, but potentially other organisms. Their combination of instinctive behavior and tactical coordination makes them extremely formidable in close quarters and guerrilla engagements.
Yeah, interesting. So they definitely do have that ability to control other organisms to some degree, which is kind of crazy.
Don't like that.
No, you know, like it seems so crazy and so foreign, but man, there are some crazy things even in our Earth. Like, you know, the movie video game The Last of Us, that fungus. There's like a similar fungus like that infects ants, where like will just take over your nervous system. And there's just crazy things out there.
I mean, the
Yeah.
entire premise of The Last of Us was like, what if that fungus could affect humans?
Yeah. Was it the
Yeah.
exact same fungus, or was it like just
I think
similar
the show
concept?
version made it seem like an evolved version of that fungus that affects ants. Something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
just imagine like these things are said to be dangerous. Like imagine you've got like one of them like at gunpoint, you're about to kill it, and then it releases the pheromones, and it's just that like 1 second it needs to of hesitation where you're like,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't kill this thing before it just skewers you and like takes you out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy.
Anyway,
Mhm.
let's talk about what they've done, what they're historically known for. So this is a translation of a choral glyph text. Tale of the greatest enemy, that is, former friend. In the age of Queen Untranslatable, at the hand of 8 Disc Red, ravaged was the swarm of, or by corrosion called untranslatable, untranslatable, introduced by grubs of the dead Queen male. Great horrors and sufferings were then, and many dead husks scattered across the sacred swarm world. Sorrow. At the climax of Untranslatable came friendly things called Untranslatable, in appearance similar to dead queen male swarm, but thin-legged and tall, and distinct within. They assisted in defense of Swarm World and drove off the enemy. Untranslatable. The corrosion passed, rejoicing. In aftertime, friendly things, untranslatable, insist on payment exchange for their aid. They solicit no, untranslatable, no ore, no royal soup, but the great queen, untranslatable, herself, to build an uncorroding swarm, resistant to, untranslatable, rejection, broken friendship. With friendship lost, friendly things are enemies. They commit villainy, untranslatable, and creep stealthy and shadowy. Stolen was the great queen, untranslatable, lost to the swarm, horror and woe. Fortune alone grants an egg in the royal honeycomb cell, and breeds the great queen, untranslatable, joy and prosperity in her.
What a read that one was for you.
I'm getting a lot of
Yeah.
Hollow Knight vibes with all the bugs and the.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah, it's like translated from bugs, but it's kind of like broken apart. Like you can kind of see like this was apparently like a huge thing, but they shorten it and then break it apart. So maybe
Yeah.
like this
Mhm.
whole like control of pheromones they have like leads to like they don't really need to like explain things.
Yeah, for sure. You're right, man. Like, just what would their language be like when you don't need a language?
Mhm.
Fun. Have
Yeah,
you ever
maybe it's
seen
like
that
a
movie? What is it? The Visitor, The Passenger. What the fuck is it called? But whatever.
the one with the aliens like coming to Earth.
Yeah, and they have to like figure out how to communicate with each other.
Arrival.
Arrival. Yeah. Which is like, yeah, it's such a different concept to even try to figure out how would you communicate with these things that don't even speak.
Because their glyphs can have like entirely separate meanings, but like all have the same meaning and then mean the same thing all in one.
Yeah.
All in one.
Their
symbol.
their glyphs wouldn't do their language justice either, just due to like even for the Corel to read their own glyphs, it wouldn't have the same pheromonial like impact, of like yeah, it just it's a
Mhm.
very interesting thing.
Yeah. The one thing before I continue on, they were talking about like their friend turned enemy. They solicit no untranslatable, no or. They won the Great Queen, but they also refuse royal soup. Now, knowing 40K in the Tyranids, this can only
Oh,
mean
no.
something very bad.
Yeah, you don't want to be a part of no soup in 40K.
Anyway, to continue on, the Coral's history remains largely unknown to the Imperium. as their contact with humanity has been sporadic and usually hostile. They were encountered by Imperial forces during explorations and campaigns in previously uncharted systems. Initial records come from inquisitorial records, noting skirmishes with an unknown Xenos species that did not confirm to any known category A's, such A's. Sorry. Unknown Xenos species that did not confirm to have any known category. As such, the coral have remained a point of interest for the Ordo Xenos investigators. There are indications that the coral have existed for millennia, potentially forming a stable interstellar civilization hidden from the wider galaxy. Their use of ancient bioengineered structures and their instinctive distrust of outsiders suggest a long history of isolation and self-resilience. The Imperium has only scratched the surface of their cultural and technological past, but what is known indicates a species that was adapted biologically to survive no matter what, and expand and defend its territory with relentless persistence.
Cool. Yeah. So
So
they've been around
basically
for a
Ender's Game.
while.
Oh, I was just about to say basically Ender's Game's aliens. They
Yeah, are they
they're
lining up
hostile.
more?
Yeah.
They
They're
use
still
some-
oh, go ahead.
Bioengineered structures is a fun concept too, almost like the Wraithbone, or just like in this case, the bioengineered. I almost picture them vomiting up stuff that they work with, their substance.
Hmm.
Bioengineered is a fun word for vomit wall.
I like
I
to
will
think
never
that oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I will never look at like a Yuuzhan Vong world ship the same way now that Mark made that vomit wall comment.
Just needs a little bit more armor right here. Bleh.
Blech.
Um,
You muted Mark.
but yeah, like,
Beautiful, beautiful vomit home. I love it. All right, let's talk about their home world. The coral, originally from the coral swarm worlds, located within the eastern fringe of the galaxy. These worlds are heavily infested with hive cities built from organic material and sustained by their own species' own bioengineered ecosystems. Each swarm world is dominated by one or more queens who coordinate the activities of millions of coral drones and workers. The environment is tailored to their needs: high humidity and dense organic structures, the labyrinth tunnels that facilitate rapid movement and defense. While the coral do not appear to have widespread empire across the galaxy, they have control of several systems in a tightly bound cluster. Their tendency to remain within the region may be due to environmental dependency or strategic choice. Explorators and rogue traders have occasionally stumbled upon coral colonies, often meeting swift hostility. These colonies are almost always located in systems difficult to access, rich in organic matter, and hidden by warp anomalies and stellar debris, indicating the coral's preference for secrecy and control over their dominion. Fucking cool. So they actually have a couple queens. Like they could have multiple queens even on a world that get along still. So yeah, like the queens, they have like one goal all entirely, and they just seem to line up, and that's fun. Or do you think that the queens have like pheromonal control? Like this queen laid birth to this queen, so obviously the older queen has pheromonal control, and
yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
Maybe it's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Gerald.
No, that was it. I was just
Yeah, I
maybe.
guess oh, I guess maybe like ants. They're like separate but different. Like they may have like different views, different like regards, or like maybe like one controls this planet, the other controls this planet, but they're not the same, they're just different. Yes, they use their pheromones, but like with a written language, why would you need a language when you can control everybody? So maybe it's like only the queens, the like higher ups, the elites that have the use for like language because they're not on the same
yeah.
pheromone page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I guess that's right. Yeah, like if it was like a warp control, then that could, in theory, go larger distance, so you wouldn't need as many queens to maintain your population control. You'd have your one in your home world that then spreads that ability out. But yeah, with it being like a natural occurrence, yeah, you'd need many to kind of build and grow. And
I got another connection.
yeah,
Mark's gonna hate me because it's another Mass Effect connection.
nice.
The Rachni. The Rachni are a swarm bug-like species that, for the most part, act just like mindless insects, except their queen does have slight psionic abilities and can communicate via telepathy through like her own drones as needed.
Nice. Okay.
Kind of do talk the same as well, like much sorrow, much joy.
And you can opt to exterminatus them in Mass Effect or in the first Mass Effect.
Now we're talking.
But that can come back to bite you later by the third game, though. So choose your battles. So kind of with this talk about the need for language and whatnot, or the lack thereof, what kind of culture and beliefs do the Quarrel have? So the culture of the Quarrel is entirely structured around their hive-based society, like literally a hive world, governed by instinct, pheromonal commands, and biological hierarchy. There is no indication of individuality or personal identity among the lower castes. All Quarrel exists to serve their queen in the swarm. The queen represents not only a reproductive figure, but also a central mental anchor that connects and controls the rest of the hive. This structure results in a culture devoid of art, philosophy, or religion. Gasp! In the conventional sense. Replaced itself with an absolute drive for hive expansion, survival, and unity. Beliefs among the Quarrel are better understood as programmed behaviors or genetically encoded instincts. Their entire social system is centered on efficiency and purpose. There is no dissent or rebellion among their kind, as known to the Imperium. Each Quarrel simply does what is made to do. The Queen may possess a form of intelligence or awareness beyond this, possibly acting as the custodians of the hive's long-term goals. Some Imperial Xeno scholars hypothesize that the queens hold ancient memories or inherited knowledge passed biologically from generation to generation, forming a kind of genetic tradition. Kind of like a Assassin's Creed Animus with genetic memory, almost.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So they do have a religion, which is kind of whack. Like
So whack.
Religion.
one
How
true
dare
queen.
they? Don't they
God
know
of
God
rest.
said? Jeez.
They just
All
have
right,
like a
well,
mock like skeletal queen on a chair somewhere.
yeah, like what would that religion be? Like, fuck, weird.
Gosh, they sound like a bunch of savages. Oh, wait.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Anyway, let's delve a little bit into their technology. Coral technology is an unusual fusion of bioengineering and practical adaptation. Rather than building machines in the human or mechanical sense, the corals seem to grow or modify living organisms to fulfill their technological roles. Structures, tools, and even weapons are often organic in origin. Grown in nutrient vats or modified from native life forms, their hives resemble vast living ecosystems in which every element serves a specific function, from temperature regulation to defense. The biotech focus makes them unpredictable and difficult to reverse engineer, as their machines are living creatures with their own biological requirements and functions. Despite the alien nature of their technology, the coral have shown an unsettling aptitude for assimilating foreign systems. They are capable of salvaging and modifying human technology, adapting it into their biosystems through a blend of reverse engineering and organic grafting. This suggests a strong adaptability and a dangerous intelligence within the higher castes. Their use of modified human equipment has been observed in battlefield encounters, where seemingly organic weapons have incorporated imperial mechanisms though twisted to serve the needs of their swarm. These hybrid technologies represent a terrifying convergence of biological and mechanical principles, further marking the coral as a potential long-term threat.
Oh
Man.
man, there's something weird about them. Fucking taking other races' technology and kind of doing their weird. They vomit on it and turn it into their own creation. Like,
Yeah. Like imagine them taking like a Scutari, right, and just throwing it in one of those nutrient vats and make it into like a whole entirely new bug or something.
fuck yeah. Yeah, they got some weird technology too. They also have chain ships, which kind of falls under that technology category. At the time of this writing, coral starships, though incredibly advanced and heavily armored, are incapable of warp travel. A small fortune that allowed my overstretched navigator to get us out of harm's way on several occasions. Long may this shortcoming last. Any expansion beyond their immediate territories would surely mean disaster and death. So this was Explorer Mari Altus. So that's kind of cool. They don't have faster than light travel, so they're not really expanding, not capable of it. The accusation of the Tau actually applies to these guys. One of the most distinctive examples of coral engineering is their use of chain ships. These are massive biovessels slung together in a linked configuration, forming a sort of migratory and colonial fleet. Each segment of the chain may serve a different purpose: birthing chambers, hive storage, and military deployment bays. Yet they remain biologically bonded into a single living entity. These chain ships drift across space like segmented leviathans, immune to conventional boarding or sabotage techniques due to their organic construction and self-repairing systems. They carry entirely coral populations between systems, allowing for rapid and overwhelming colonization of worlds. Man, they got like flesh space trains, man, where they just link up all these flesh nodules, these vomit fucking spacecraft together. Just keep linking them together. Yikes. Fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I got another connection. Don't worry, it's not Mass Effect this time. It's not Mass Effect, I promise. It's much worse. Has anyone ever heard of the game Scorn?
No, what is it?
If you're familiar with like the works of H.R. Geiger and Andres Bishinsky, I'm probably butchering that last artist's name. They do like really horrifying biomechanical technological artwork. Like H.R. Geiger is responsible for like the design of the xenomorph from Alien. And so they produced a game called Scorn, and it's like all about like biotechnology, and it is absolutely disgusting. Just like a lot of like everything that looks like exposed organs and a lot of NSFWs type stuff with weapons that basically like graft onto your arm and shoot suspiciously white projectiles.
Yes, the cock cannon can finally be a reality. Blasting enemies of the Emperor.
Exactly.
Right in the face.
Exactly.
Nice,
So,
okay.
Slanesh is proud.
Oh, no. You went there. You went there.
We had to. It's the only...
I'm back to screaming internally. Toasty will never let me live this down. Okay. Let's move on to the capturers, psychics, and navigators. And I'm not getting a good vibe from this already. But we have a quote for a Segmentum Pacificus Naval Command. General Bulletin to all ships of the Pacificus Fleet. Xenos threat notice. Reinforce security. Attack coral chain ships when sighted. Prevent capture of Nobolite ship personnel. Lethal force authorized to prevent their abduction alive. Imperator Bird. It is speculated that the coral used captured psychers and navigators to pilot their vessels through the warp, thus compensating for the lack of psychically active individuals among their race. Whatever the reason, the Xenos race has a rather nasty way of controlling its captives. The coral mind grub. Ugh. The mind grub resembles a thick caterpillar the size of a little finger, but with a you're punishing me, Mark. But with a pulsing mass of writhing feelers and probes in place of a head. Mark, why?
Read about the probing alien, Gerald. Read.
Why? You're torturing me.
Let it get deep inside your brain nodules.
Why would you phrase it like that? Come on. The grub burrows into the head of its unwilling victim, burrowing into the base of the skull and inserting its appendages until it reaches the brain.
Not the appendages.
The grub makes it easier to control a psyker, making them suggestible through pheromones or vocal commands. Holy fuck, is this wrong?
Fuck. That is not the right voice.
Terrifying.
Yeah, the coral mind grub, a little Starship Trooper mind-eating bug there, a little fuck, man, isn't that a fear? Yo, okay, so last time I was recording, I put my headset on, and a couple minutes later, I felt something crawling around on my ear. There's a spider in my headset. I was like, oh fuck, I hated it. I
mind
hated
grub.
it every second. Yeah, man.
It's the mind grub.
Yikes.
That's
No one wants that. No one
That's
wants that
terrifying.
bug.
Imagine though, like because it's mentioned they did have warp travel at first. So imagine this unsuspecting world with some like la da da, some psychers here and there, and then all of a sudden these bugs just come out of nowhere, and they're just like feeling through everybody. They don't necessarily kill everybody, and whenever they find a psycher, inside a bug goes.
You get a bug, and you get a bug.
Everybody gets the bug.
Everyone gets the bugs.
No, I don't like this. Do not like.
Anyway, let's delve a little bit into their military. The coral military structure is both efficient and terrifying, operating under the direct control of the queen through pheromonal and mental influence. Their forces consist of various castes, each evolved for a specific battlefield role. Warrior coral are heavily armored, equipped with scything limbs and natural armor plating, and act as the frontline fighters. Other castes may serve as shock troops, siege units, or even aerial attackers, each grown or bred for the role they are meant to fulfill. This caste-based specialization ensures that their forces are well suited to swarm tactics and adaptive combat, overwhelming enemies through coordination rather than individual strength. The coral tactics revolve around relentless pressure and hive coordination. Unlike more conventional armies, they show no hesitation, no fear, and no confusion in combat. Their movements are synchronized with near perfection, often reacting to threats with hive-wide knowledge. Reinforcements arrive at just the right moment. Traps are sprung without verbal coordination, and retreats are executed with precise timing. They do not require supply lines in the traditional sense, instead, consuming biological matter from the battlefield or stored reserves. The presence of a queen or brood commander ensures that a battlefield remains under absolute hive control, making even small coral forces a serious threat to unprepared Imperial units.
Yeah, very much like Tyranid vibes, where you just see the massive bodies, these bugs just swarming. And these are like flying bugs too, so they're not like a ground invasion. It's like a flying swarm. And you could just imagine the batting of all these like little fucking wings and how that sound that it would make of a billion wings. Oh man. Yeah, man. It'd like vibrate your insides.
Yeah, imagine some like poor like Imperial soldier, like you're just camping out,
Yeah.
like hiding, and the coral, like a full like four of them are just flying right past you. All of a sudden, like you accidentally bump a rock and something hears it,
Ooh,
and all of a
yes.
sudden, all of them just 90 turn 90 degrees towards you and just fly straight at you.
All million of them just instantly. Yeah. That's such a creepy picture of just like that many organisms like just working together in harmony to want to destroy you. Fuck.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope.
You're the royal soup.
Oh, delightful.
Mhm.
The galactic relations of the coral. The coral are considered a hostile xenospecies by the Imperium of Man and are listed in several Ordo-Xenos threat registries. Imperial forces have encountered them, report swift and brutal engagements, typically ending in high casualties if unprepared. As a result, contact with the coral is unavoided or is avoided when possible through inquisitorial agents and members of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They have covert attempts to study them. These missions are rarely successful due to the aggressive nature of the species and the danger posed by their bioengineered environments. Other xenospecies appear to avoid coral territory, though there is little concrete evidence of a direct conflict between the coral and races such as the Tau or the Orcs. This could be due to the coral's tendency to remain isolated in their swarm worlds and only defend what they perceive as their own. However, should their territory begin to expand, it is like they would come into a violent conflict with nearby galactic powers. For now, the coral remain a lurking danger in the Eastern Fringe, little known and poorly understood, but with the potential to become a far greater threat if left unchecked. Yeah, I like this kind of, they're hostile and mean and you don't want to fuck with them, but also they're not out there to mess with you. Like when wasps set up their new wasp nest, they're not building it in a high trafficked area. They're finding somewhere quiet and secret to grow and expand. But holy fuck, if you poke that nest, man, they all come for you. This is kind of the same way with their kind of relations where they want to be left alone for the most part. They are expanding, they are growing, but like the worlds that they conquer or take, it's not so much that. They would rather take a planet that is left, it is private.
It's mentioned though that the worlds they like in the one of their quotes that they have like worlds with like ores and like valuable resources. So definitely like if Tau Orcs Imperium wanted to go to these worlds, they wouldn't just be doing it for the sake of killing Xenos. They'd actually have like more beneficiary reasons to conquer this world.
Yeah, it's like a world that has been defended from the use of resources. So yeah, they're all just sitting there untapped as the coral make vomit structures.
Yeah, or even a Voton.
Yeah.
They would definitely be there.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
His gross purge it. Exterminatus, all of it.
Yeah. Give it them all. Imperial only. Only the big, beautiful humans are allowed in this Milky Way. Yeah, fuck. Okay. Well, that's the episode. That's the Xenos that we had. There's some interesting one. I think the coral were pretty like you could see an army of them. You could see a lot of different models for them with their bioengineered race where some are big, some have more limbs, some their wings are now other things. But yeah, I think they could make a nice big size army for sure.
Even if some like 40K author want to do some like book, like this could be a potentially like a really good big bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I picture this gross like big coral that's been modified to then carry all little corals, almost like the Herodron from the Tyranids, where it's like you just got all these coral hanging off this giant coral as it flies it to where it needs to be. Oh,
I mean, that was my main image for like if you just wanted to kit bash models of these, just do a bunch of Tyranids, but do like Vespid wings or big Vespid wings.
Yeah. Yeah. Vespid wings. Yeah. They're pretty close to the Vespid for sure. Add some biomechanical stuff, but cool. Well, which of these three was your guys' favorite? I think mine was probably the Oretti, maybe just due to the fact that it's like a bleak state of affairs where you put pacifists into the grim dark and you're like, what's going to come of this? Are we going to have pacifists still in 10 years, or are we going to have a bunch of violent savages that fill up the galaxy? You know, what will happen to them?
Yeah, I gotta say, the Coral for me, because I mean the others were cool. The Nekulli, the Oretti, they got their own shine, but the Coral are just like this, like super like mysterious like race. Like they're super like small, like not Tau big just yet, but they
Yeah.
are like there and they are ready to just enter the galactic stage full force.
Yeah. And they have everything they probably need to do it. They don't have to worry about resource gathering. They don't have to worry about numbers, because I know some of these minor Xenos where it's like, yeah, you have the technology, but you just don't have the numbers to do anything useful. Yeah, they could be a big player. Yeah. Gerald, what was your favorite?
Either the already, just because of how just like pathetically tragic they are.
Yeah, right?
But the Nekulli seem pretty cool. They're just that one Xenos race that's just like, we're just gonna chill out in the background. We'll trade stuff with you. We'll even join your retinue. Just leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
So
That'll be fine. Not everything has to end in bloodshed, you know? Sometimes you just want to trade cool Xenos relics with your next door Xenos neighbor.
mm-hmm.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
that's an episode of Lorehammer. I think the next episode we got, we're going to be doing Mino Xenos for the next couple weeks, but I think the next one is the Rack Ghoul, which are very cool. They're one of my favorite. So excited to talk about them.
Very cool. I keep on drawing up the image of like those white monstrosities from Star Wars, but that's a different rat ghoul, I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to hear more Lorehammer, go check out the Lorehammer Listen to Lore podcast. Got lots of short stories on there you can go listen to. People submit all manner of things over there, so go check it out. A lot of fun.
And if you want to hear about Warhammer Fantasy, come on over and listen to me talk with Ray Way about Warhammer Fantasy, some Age of Sigmar, some Destiny, some Halo, a little bit of everything, as long as it's grim and or dark. So there you go.
And I don't got any shameless plugins. Oh, sorry, Mark, you're muted.
Oh, I was just saying, actually, thanks for coming there, young Jax.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us your phone number, your address. That should be the shout out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Your
I
credit
can't do
card
any shameless
number,
plugins
the
yet.
CVS code on the back.
Yeah. Cool.
But
All
yeah,
right. Well, we'll see you all on the next episode. Adios.
Good night.
have a good one.